Hello everybody, Nigel the Movie, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Welcome back. Part 22 now of the build of this little beauty. This is the A-20G Havoc over Europe from Hong Kong Models, kit number 01E039. And as some of you will know, I've recently reviewed the brand new forthcoming A-20J/K/Boston Mark IV. So that'll be an interesting build as well. Basically the same model with a glass nose, and will obviously be done in RAF colours. So there we go. Right, so we've got this far with the build. We've done all the fuselage and everything. It turns out, after many of you have commented and sent pictures and links and everything, thank you very, very much to all of you. But there's one gentleman in particular who linked me to some images from the Imperial War Museum. A couple of those pictures actually show these lights there in position this far apart. So that's good enough for me. I'll go with that. It also told me in the email, he sent me about the colours, so I'll check that out as well. I'm not sure. They have the colours in here. Red, green, amber. I've got a feeling from memory it was red, amber, green, but I will let you know. I guessing they could have been in all sorts of different orders depending on, because the switch box is here. If you look in here, you can see, if I come around this side, you can see in here, you probably can't see, but there is a box, and I've put some Anise toggle switches in there, and there's like 3 or 4 in a row, and then there's one slightly higher up, and they are, you switch the lights on, and you have this main switch off, and then you have your red, amber, green on or off, and then when you hit the main switch, they will come on momentarily and go straight out again. So and the code will be for today is red and amber, and that's it. So that was what they used it for, and it was against friendly fire. So basically what we're going to do now, we've done pretty much everything in the manual. And we're going to go on, and we've done all this if you remember, but I'm not gluing those on yet. We're going to go on and look at this nose. Now the nose parts tend to all be on sprues H and K. So we've got sprue H here and we've got sprue K here. So I think what I'll do is start getting some parts off the sprues. I've just remembered, I mumbled to myself, I've just remembered I did actually, let's put that away, and that away, and that away. I remember I did built these ammo boxes, didn't I? So we've got those to sand as well, because we've got seams around the middle of those, and then we've got the seams around that way on those. And depending on how they go in is how much they're going to be visible. I'm not going to spend time worrying about seams if they're never going to be seen, but we are going to get rid of these big sprue nibs and everything. And this is one of the things I like to do, guys. If you follow my channel, you'll know I like to look ahead and get stuff like this done, because now we've got these parts here ready for cleanup. Now if we built these today when we need them to go into the nose section here, we've got the ammunition bins here, then we'd be gluing together and then stopping, waiting for them to dry and everything. But as it is, we've got them there ready to go. So when we've got something in here we're waiting for it to dry, we can get and work on those. We've also got quite a big sprue nib there, I can see. So we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so there we go. Right, let's get some parts off the sprue. So we've got all these bits inside here. So we've got the main starboard side nose section. So we've got this piece here to go in. I'm kind of hoping I can put that in and then glue those boxes on after, and that way we can spray everything interior green, and then add the boxes after, because all this is interior green. And then the same on this side. So hopefully we can build all this up with these bulkheads and everything perhaps, and then put the guns in after. We'll have a look. Let's see how we can see if we can change this build sequence about a bit, because I love to do that. If you're wondering why I haven't fitted all the glazing and everything, obviously I'm having this door open, so that will be easy to snap off. If I glue this on, it's going to get scratched. If I glue this on, it could get scratched, but also it's making a trap for dust. I'd rather leave it open, and then we'll stick it on right before the end when we need to, and we can blow all that dust out. You can see already we've got dust on the inside of those side windows there, which needs to be blown out. So there we go. Right, so I'm going to get some parts off the sprue, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've had a good old look at these parts. I've been quite a while doing this actually. So all these parts here are for the starboard side, and we've had a look at them and they're all good. Okay, so they're all cleaned up and everything. So what I decided to do was get the parts off the sprue for the port side, and I'll show you what I've done to clean everything up. I'm not sure that it's going to affect the fit, but there's a lot of bits and pieces that we need to make sure we've got out of the way. So first of all, this one here, there is an ejector pin mark. Let me get the light in a better position. There is an ejector pin mark here, which is raised. You can see it there, it's raised. Okay, and when this box goes in, this box locates over those two raised areas there, and you can see it's going to go underneath that bracket there, and you can see that it's sitting on top there, it's sitting on top of where that ejector pin mark is. So basically we want to sand that out just in case. I very much doubt that when this model was designed on CAD they designed in an ejector pin mark, so I'm just going to get in there with a knife and just scrape that away, just like so. These number 23 blades in the number 4 handle are brilliant for things like this. If you're following along with my Border Models nose into a Hong Kong Models Lancaster, then you'll see I use this blade a lot, and it really does a great job at scraping all that detail out of there. And then I'm going to come in with my little photo etch sander and just finish that off. Just get that out. So that's that one gone. There's nothing else that interferes. The other thing is, you've got all these ejector pin marks in here, but they don't matter because you're not going to see them. There's too much in the way. So the next thing is this box here. If you have this access panel here open, you can see this hole here that I'm pointing at. Now, this hole here is what I'm pointing at. Okay, that one there. And obviously, if you look at that, it looks like a great big thick piece of plastic. And it's obviously not that, it's a thin sheet maybe with a plunged hole. So what we need to do is thin it out. So you can see the difference in those two, how much better this one looks than that one. So what I'm doing, I've got a 5mm ball cutter, and I'm just going to come in from the back and just remove material from the back, just to thin that out, to give it the appearance of a thinner piece of metal. Now you don't want to go really thin because it would have been plunged, it would have been radiused. So put a very slight radius on the outside there. I've got a little 3mm one here, and that's gonna go right through if I'm not careful. But there we go. So that's that thinned out, and that looks so much better. If you've seen my Bombay, you'll see I did it all in there. And if you want to see it in more detail, go back and look at the Bombay part. Again, this panel here, this one is going to sit in here against this. So there's a place for it there. You can see where I'm pointing, where it's going to sit, and it sits in there, and it goes up against this corner. It's just like a brace of some sort. But again, this has got issues. So you can see if you have the door open, it's quite visible. Now, when we look at this little part on its own, the first thing we can see is in this face that's going to be visible, there is an ejector pin mark in the middle, which is raised. So I'm going to get in there with my little skinny PE sander from Infini and just sand that away. Just like so. So that's that gone. And then we can come in from behind with a 3mm ball-ended cutter, or ball-ended burr should I say, and just again thin out the material. I'm going to put that one back over that side so we don't mix them up. Thin out the material, just like so. So we end up with a nice thin edge, just to make it look a bit more realistic. So I think there's two different size holes in there. So don't just rely on the depth being your go-to. And then from the other side, I'm just going to give them a very quick, just to deburr them. And you can see now we have a much better looking part. You can see from the back it's all drilled out. There we go. Don't try and do that with a drill, because what you'll find is the drill will chew into the plastic as you go in. Now if you get an area like this where you can see you've got a bit of a soft edge on there, what you can do is take some Tamiya extra thin, okay, get most of it off, and then just go into the hole, just run around, and that will remove any little bits of fluff or any burrs or anything. We do on this one as well. Just get most of it off and just run around the holes just like so. Now if you're closing all the doors up and everything on the nose, then you don't really need to do this, and I don't know what I'm doing yet. So that's the work on the sides. This piece here is going to go, there's an ejector pin mark there as well. I don't think it's going to matter though. This piece here is going to sit in there, and it's got 2 pins on it. I'm just going to push it in place with a pencil. Go on. There we go. That's going to sit in there like that. And as you can see, we've got a gap here, and that's going to have to be filled and sanded. I don't know how we're going to get around that. It looks like oh, that's wonderful. We're going to be able to get our 3mm burr in there and remove most of what we put in, and then a quick with a little PE sander and we're away. You can see we've even got a gap in there, we can see daylight through. So what I'm tempted to do there is, where's my knife, is just come along and just take away part of those pins to allow this to go forward easier. Just like so. Okay. So we'll drop that back in there. Easier said than done. That's better, I can push that up now. We do have a lovely fit. It does fit nice and flush. In fact, we could probably just take a bit off of here just to get it to go in a bit deeper, and that'll give us something to sand away then. Of course, if you're watching this a bit down the line and building the J version, then you won't have this lot in the J. I'll grab some Tamiya extra thin, just put a drop there and a drop there, get that glued in nice and solid, and then we'll leave that to dry before we start trying to do anything with the seams. So there we go. And I think while we're here, we'll do this one as well. Let's just drop that in there like so. Go on, you know you want to. This one fits. Oh, this one's the same, it's got a great big gap. So what we'll do is, again, we'll come along with a knife and we will remove the front half of those pins to allow the part to go forward. There we go. Rubber extra thin again. Drop there and a drop there, and that'll be enough to hold that. So there we go, that's that gone together. So that's the exit chute for our side mounted guns. So as I say, we're going to leave that to dry. Make sure it's nice and hard. You don't want to start moving when you start sanding it. And then looking at this here, these are the these parts here. They're here, they're going forward. So we've got K4, K16, K1 and K6. And they're the bulkheads the guns are going to mount in. And it looks very much like I'll be able to glue these into place and then put the guns in from the front afterwards. So that's okay. one thing I have noticed, this one here, you have a plain face and you have a detailed face. This detailed face is what you're going to see if the doors are open. You won't see this side unless you have the nose off. So that's all okay. But this one here only goes in one way because it has those two mounting pins, and unfortunately we have great big ejector pin marks on there. Now what I'm going to do here is use a pencil and just colour in around those ejector pin marks, and then with a sanding stick, in fact I think I'll use this zebra stick because it's harder. We can just get rid of those ejector pin marks. Just like so. And there we go. And today is Monday the 19th of February 2024. And I've had a message from Neil over at Hong Kong Models. I wasn't even aware until somebody mentioned on the weekend they pre-ordered the 1/48 scale Grand Slam Lancaster from Hong Kong Models. I didn't even know it was coming out. So I sent a message and said, is it true? Because I couldn't find it anywhere. And he said, yeah, I've sent you one. Oh great, okay, thank you very much, Neil. So another brand new Hong Kong Models kit is going to land on the doorstep. We will probably do a build of that, and we'll probably do it for a quick build. We'll probably do it out of the box. Okay, so no faffing about with it, no resin, no nothing, just out of the box. So I think we might have a bit of fun with that. And it looks especially interesting because it's a Lancaster in day camouflage, which is very unusual, as we all know. So there we go. Right. So that's that bit lot done. Now these bits here are going to glue onto this bulkhead. Now I'm kind of tempted to glue that bulkhead in there first. Is there anything to stop me doing that? No, because it's telling us to fit them there anyway. It's not going to affect the ammo boxes. So we've got, I can easily fit, once these side panels here are in, just like so, I can easily fit, I have to remember that as well, you can see that in behind there, so we're going to have to make sure we paint that area there before we put this box on. We can put this in here, like so. We've got ejector pin marks in there to deal with as well. We can put that in there, and then these boxes here are easy to fit. So we can build all this up. That's just going to go in there easily. We've also got our one army masks to spray on there as well. They've got the arrows for the bullets. So yeah, we've got some cleanup to do on here. So we have, I'd forgotten about this, we have a big step here. I say a big step, it's hardly big, it's hardly anything at all, but we'll just sand that out. So grab my little PE sander, which is great for this sort of thing because it's hard. There we go. Yeah, I haven't done that one either. I'll do that in a minute. So what was I looking at? I was looking at if I could put that in there. So yeah, these ammo boxes here, the other type, these are just going to fit onto there, onto those ridges down there, like so. So that's all that's all good, that's all easy enough. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn the camera off and go to doing some work and see what I can come up with fitting all this together. I'll see you in a second. Okay then guys, one thing I forgot to talk about, in here there are a couple of ejector pin marks. You can see them here, and I think they'll be visible because when you put this panel in, that's obviously going to fit in there like so. And if you're having this side panel off, then you're going to see those ejector pin marks up in there. So I'm just going to scrape them away initially. I'm using this is a number 10 blade now and a number 3 handle. Just like so. And then we'll come around to the other way. And we'll just scrape that away just like so. And then I will take a little piece of sanding stick, which is cut off and put onto a sharp point, and then I can get in there with that and just give that a gentle sanding. And even if it does leave a few scratch marks behind, it's going to look a lot better than having ejector pin marks in there. As you can see now, they're gone. So that's that done. Right, now these panels here, what I've done, I've been through this William Wolff book, and there is literally one picture of the nose gun. This is the armaments chapter. You know how much I think about these books. They've got one here with the nose gun, the panel removed, the front panel. We've got a picture here of the lower gun. So I'll just get this book up a bit more up here. We've got a picture here of the lower gun. That's these down in the sides here. I've got a picture there. But other than that, nothing. So we've got one image, which is that one there. And we can see now that we've got the gun tracks coming out of these ammunition boxes here. So we've got one coming out there and going round and down, and then we've got one coming up around the top and into that one. Now if you remember, I pointed out when I did the review of the brilliant one-man army masking set for this, they've got arrows on these boxes showing which way the gun's face, the bullet's face, or the round's face. So get it out, Nigel. And if you notice, one was facing back and one was facing forward, and you can see here why. This rear one is feeding the upper gun, so obviously the bullets are coming out, or the rounds are coming out this way, sharp end back, and then they go over the top round like that, and then they go into the gun the right way round, and then these, they're coming out like that and just feeding in. So these will face that way, the back ones will face backwards. So Sven was correct in doing that. But that is it. So we can see that when we look at here, this piece here goes in the side. In fact, let's take this out. I've glued these panels into this bulkhead here, and I just put them in between to let them dry. Put that one over there, keep them separate. This one here is going to go into here like so. Okay, so that's going to sit in there like that. And you can see that that is this one here. So we need some rounds behind it. So I've got these MDC silicone rounds. I can just cut the strap off the back, and I'm going to put them in. They're going to be pointy end upwards. So basically I'll take this out of here. So you can see that that is going to sit in there once I've cut that piece off the bottom. That's going to sit in there, so you'll see the rounds through the holes rather than just have holes. You'll have the rounds in behind there. So that's if I have the doors open. And then the top one is catered for with this piece in the kit, which is rather nicely moulded, and that's going to go into there and go around like that. So we don't need any aftermarket for that one, just a bit of paint and it'll look great. We'll have the door open. So I think what I might do on this is have the doors open on one side and have the wall closed up on the other, so we can see the lines of the aircraft on one side and we can see the detail on the other, much like this. I'm not sure if the door is actually hinged open. Again, this book for reference is just... There is a picture in here of a Soviet one. Here you go. So that door hinges up there. You can see there that door's hinged up. this panel is removable. I'm not sure if the upper door opens or is removed. This is all about the turret here, which is handy but not fantastic. Yeah, it looks like that panel there is removed, as is that one there, but the one behind is hinged. Okay, so they're going to be completely not on there. So there we are. Right, so that's basically that for our reference. So I don't think I'll glue those in. I think I'll paint those individually and glue them afterwards. Same with these here. These here can get glued in. So that panel there, I want to paint in behind there first, don't I? Because we're going to see if we have this maintenance hatch in the bottom. The other thing I'm looking at, this is an MDC 50 cal resin gun. If I can get it out, well, we don't need to get it out, do we? But if we look at the difference in the size of the MDC and the HK models, you can see there's a massive difference in the size. In fact, what I'll do is I'll compare it with the gas patch, because I've also got those here, haven't I? Let's have a look at those. Okay, so here we have the beautiful gas patch ones. These are the wing mounted, which I think are correct for this. I think wing mounted basically means sort of remote, they're not flexible. Flexible means they're mounted on they can be moved around, like in the front of a B-17F, they're flexible. The one in the bottom of this aircraft is flexible. But we can see there, again, if we look at the size of the HK models and compare that to there, there's a massive difference. Now the position of that rod at the bottom is the same, but they don't have any location. Also on this one there's an ejector pin mark in the side, and it's the outward facing side as well, which is unfortunate. Obviously with these there are no ejector pin marks, so we're going to have to find some way. That's going to lie in there. Okay, so we may have to make something up here with some pins or whatever, so I may have to assemble all this before it's actually painted. But basically when it comes to this, we have this bulkhead here, and that gun has those two grooves here at the back, those two raised slots, and they sit over those stirrups like that, and that holds them, whereas these don't have that. So obviously they can sort of go anywhere really, which I suppose isn't an issue. And I'm kind of wondering if that front, there's a hole there, we can see there's a hole here, and I'm wondering if that is supposed to line up with these pins on here. So if that is supposed to sit like that perhaps. So maybe we drill through and put a pin through. So we paint everything and then just pin the guns through and then put it all together. Who knows? I've also forgotten I had got these rounds at the gas patch. So we could possibly use these in behind, where's that piece? Now of course these have got the belt in the middle because these are the uncaged ones. These are free. You can see these are just free bullets, and these are caged. Okay, so these are free, but they have the big wide strap in the middle. Like they're not designed to go in a cage, so they're different. So we won't use them, but I think we may well use these guns. Let me see what else I've got a minute. Okay, so we have 4 types of guns here. I've just had a look on the Hannant's website about replacing these, and Hannant's do gas patch, but they only do their kits. They don't seem to do their accessories, so I shall have to get onto them and find out why. Because these things are amazing. They're beautiful, these guns. So I've got 3 sets of the wing mounted. You get 4 guns in each, so that's pretty cool. I've got 2 sets of the fixed. You can see the difference on the back here. You can see this is the machine gun. these are the wing mounted, sorry. Here's the fixed. Okay, so you can see they've got a the handle on the back end, it looks like. And then here, this is the flexible. So these are like in the wing, you know, in the size of a B-17. So you've got the cocking handle, and you've got the two handles on the back to aim the gun with. Note with these, you also get two barrels with each breech. So you get the slotted barrel and the hold barrel. So, you know, you've always got a spare barrel for your other models as well. And then here we've got the flexible fixed back plate. So this has got a cocking handle and no handle on the back and no solenoid. I noticed the wing mounted one has a solenoid on the side, and the fixed has no solenoid, the flexible has no solenoid, and the fixed there has no solenoid. So this one here, flexible fixed back plate, also has no solenoid. So the only one with a solenoid is the wing mounted one. And when you actually look at the image in this bloody great heavy book, where are we? Oh, it's always a nightmare trying to find stuff in here. Armament comes straight after hydraulics, I think. There we go. They explain they describe the guns as fixed. Okay, so you can see here it's saying fixed, but then there's a solenoid on the side. So we can see in here, these also have the solenoid on the side, and they're described as fixed. So 4 fixed air-cooled Model M2 50 caliber machine guns. So obviously the description in here, fixed, is not the same as the description on these, fixed, because that's a fixed gun, but it has a handle on the back and no solenoid. Here's where the plot thickens. When you look at this book, it explains how all this works, and it says the guns needed to be charged manually to start the operating sequence. So, kind of, do they have a solenoid? Is that a solenoid or not? I certainly can't see that handle on the back of them. I wish this book had some better bloody diagrams. I think what I'll do is have a look on Google and see what I can find. See, it goes into the cannons here, which weren't used very much at all. They were superseded. We've also got this in the lower guns. We have this track, this chute, and we're going to have to put some ammo in there because we have the parts on the spool here. There it is there, but we clearly have no ammunition in there, so we're going to have to put some ammunition in there. And we'll probably use the little gas patch ones for that, because they're going to be very visible. As I said, I think I'm going to have one side open and one side closed. We're also going to have to go and drill these holes around here, see how that looks as well. I guess how good they come out will decide which side we have open and which side we have closed, won't it? So yeah, I'm going to try and find some more images of this gun area, this nose. Go from there. This bloody book is such a bloody... Oh, God. Look at it. It's that thick. You know, it's got 512 pages of one image of the nose guns. It's just ridiculous. Right. Let me see what else I can find. Guys, I'm back. You may hear Jess squeaking and squawking with her toys. Right, I've made a decision. You're not going to believe this. I have decided to close this up. The reason being, okay, and this is no slant on Hong Kong models whatsoever, but you can see that we've got all these edges around here which are quite thick. Now, if I want to get these down to scale thickness and have the doors at scale thickness and everything, it's going to be a lot of scratch building. I'm also going to have to do a lot of scratch building inside to add cables and electrics and stuff like that. Because basically, if I build this as a basic gun pod, if you like, when you compare it to all the detail in the cockpit, it's going to look a little bit simple, in my opinion. So what I've decided to do is close it up. Now, we've got the A-20G on the shelf behind me. And that's going to have loads and loads of detail in the nose which is visible, and hopefully there's going to be aftermarket to tart that up and everything. And if not, we can always, you know, use some anise bits and some scratch building and some airscale decals and all that. But when you actually look at this, when you look at the real thing, this area around here is just very, very thin, okay? And then these little pieces here, and then there's strips all around the sides here. So if I'm going to make that all look really good and fine and accurate, then, you know, it's going to take a lot of work. Also, which I don't want to do. And also, I don't want to have both sides open. I only want to have one side open, as I said. Well, I did only want to have one side open. And the trouble with doing that is when you look inside, you've got all this sort of chunky detail here, which is going to be great if it was an out-of-the-box build, but it's not an out-of-the-box build. We've added all this detail. So, you know, I think having this sitting there with all the sort of basic detail is going to look a little bit silly next to this cockpit that's had hours and hours and hours of work put into it. And we've got all the detail of the bomb bay, and we're going to have all the detail in the wheelbase, and we've added all the detail to the engines. You know, there has to come a point where you have to draw the line. The other thing I've been looking at is getting the machine guns mounted. These are very large in diameter here on the front of the breech, and they sit down in there, and that's all designed obviously to have the barrels lining up nice and straight and coming out of the nose nice and straight. So for me to get the resin guns to fit in, I think is going to be very, very difficult. I was thinking what I would do is have it open and use these breeches, because basically they're sitting so far in, when they're actually in there, you can see I've put some super glue in those gaps now to try and to get them sealed up. But when you actually put this in there, like so, okay, the guns are actually way down there. You can see, this is one of the reasons I made the decision, you can see the gun is not up against the side like this, it's way in there. So you've got all this empty space where there's going to have to be stuff going in. So I've just decided I'm going to close it up and just forget about it. Hopefully the panels will all fit nicely. Because using the resin guns and getting the guns to be nice and straight and having them come out of here in the centre and everything is going to be a complete nightmare. And then adding all the belts and all the wiring and thinning out all the sections and everything. We need to get this build done, guys. So what I've decided to do is close the nose up, and then what we'll do is once the nose is done, then we can move on to the undercarriage bay, and then we'll start doing some detailing in there with the Edward stuff and everything, and you know, thinning out with these holes like we did in the bomb bay, these holes here, thinning all this out and doing some dry brushing and stuff like that. Get it all looking nice, nothing there. So I mean, we've got this panel here that goes in, and then that sits on top of there like that. So I'm guessing I'm going to be looking up through there at the bottom of the guns. Let me start to get some of this glued together and we'll have a rethink. But you see, this is the kind of thing I'm concerned about. When we look here, we've got this bulkhead is coming up against the side of the fuselage there. And in reality, that there is a really thin sheet of aluminium. It's not like a solid panel like that. I suppose I could add a new frame in there. Let me have a think about it. Okay, so we are back and we've got a very messy bench, and this is actually about 2 or 3 days later. If you remember, I think I mentioned previously, I was waiting for something to turn up and then I could make my mind up. So I've kind of decided that I'm not going to close it up. I'm going to have one side closed up. So I'm going to have this side closed up. So this will have all the doors and everything in it. I think this is the door for there, is it? I'm not sure. No, I don't think it is. There we go. So is that the door for there? Very slight differences. There we go. That goes in there. They're going to have to be glued in, clamped, and then sanding and whatever to get them to fit. I mean, they wouldn't be a perfect fit anyway, but if we're going to get them to fit nicely, then we need to at least get them clamped in place and then glue them. And we've also got the door to go on the top here. No doubt I've got the wrong one here. No, I've got the right one, blimey. So that'll be all closed up on that side. So when we look in from that side, we're going to see this on the inside. So we're going to have to get rid of those ejector pin marks, get all this painted inside, and go for there. Now, this was what I wanted to add. I will show you now. I've done this frame out of some 10 thou by 20 thou plastic strip, and we've added that frame so that it looks a little bit more realistic, and I've thinned out. You can see the difference here. These triangular areas in here are quite chunky. See them there? When you look at them on here, you can see I've thinned them out quite considerably to get the more accurate look in, and I've added that strip in there so it looks like it's a sort of frame where the door goes in. I don't really need to thin out any plastic behind because you can't really see it. The one sort of thing that does look a bit odd is when this panel here goes in, it kind of, well, actually it's not so bad. I thought it was going to be worse than that, but it's actually not so bad. That looks okay. So the view going forward is going to be no different. And then here what you're going to have is this piece here. Can't remember how this went now. That's going to go in like that. Basically it needs shortening to make it fit properly, and that's going to sit in like that, so you'll see the gun in behind with the rounds and everything. So what I'm tempted to do is build the unit up and deal with the seams on the inside and everything, because we're going to be able to see these seams down in here because we've got these boxes going in on the sides like so. Sorry, like so. And then that box is going to go in there like that. Okay. And then and we're going to have the ammo boxes on there. I've got the ammo bins here, and I've done some Mr. Surfacer on them to sort of try and get rid of some of them. They've got massive seams on them, so I'm going to try and get rid of them. They're not that important but they are apart, so you can actually see the seam when you look if we have this door open. And that door there will be, where is it? Like one like this, one of these two. Yeah, typical, picked up the wrong one. And that's going to go into there, open, and you can see that Hong Kong models have included all the lovely interior detail on them. So that's very nice, and it should all look quite good. But as I say, my biggest concern is having that beautifully detailed cockpit and having this fairly simple. Now, gone back to these gas patch guns. These are the gas patch Browning Cal 50 wing mounted, because they've got the little solenoid and stuff on the side as a separate piece. And if we compare, as I said before, if we compare the size of the breeches, what I hadn't noticed is the length. Now, when these go in, you will see straight away. Sorry about all this talking, guys, but I just want to explain what I'm doing so that you understand what it is I'm babbling on about. And why it's so difficult. When we put this gun in here, okay, I'm going to put that down in there. Oh. I've done this loads of times off camera, and it goes absolutely fine. And as soon as you try and do it with the camera switched on, it plays silly buggers. There it goes, it's done it again. So we're going to put that down the back there, and then that, oh, for God's sake. Right, basically what I'm trying to say is these two bulkheads are a certain distance apart. Alright, and what happens is that ledge, that sits in there like that, and then the end of this long breech sits right at the end of there. Like that in there. So basically this gun, because it's shorter, as you can see there, because it's shorter, it's going to end up with nothing to support at the front. However, when we put the barrel in, we can see that overall, if I just cut this off of here, just take a little bit more off of there, right, you should be able to see that when we put the guns next to each other, their overall length is roughly the same. but we're going to have the front end there hanging in the middle of air, hanging in nowhere. But it's interesting to note that the holes in the nose, these Hong Kong models barrels, you can see they are much smaller than the gas patch models in diameter. Much smaller and far less detailed, obviously, because they're injection molded and not resin. So these actually don't go in there. So what we could do is drill out these holes to get a nice snug fit, and then we could push the guns in afterwards and just have them sat literally on that barrel and have the back end glued down to there. So that's one way of doing it. Now, one thing I haven't checked yet, which I meant to check before I switched the camera, I've done so much work on this, I've spent hours messing around with this, and what I wanted to check was the distance of the base to the bottom of that recoil on the back. And now I want to check the distance that I've just measured to a strap. That was 0.88. It was 1.8, wasn't it? 1.9. And I'm going to check the distance there. So that's 0.18. So that's 1.9. So we'll call it 1.7 to the bottom of there. And on here it is, that is 2.3. And then the distance down to the, dear, it's going to be difficult to get that. It's 0.63, so that's, what's that, 2.3, 1.7, so it's about the same. So we should be able to just put all this together and then put these guns in from the back and just drop them down. Tiny drop of super glue on the back, and that'll be enough to hold them in place. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to build these up. I've also checked that I can get these standard plastic breeches to go through should I decide that I want to do that, use them instead. The detail on these is fine, but they're nothing like as nice as the gas patch ones, obviously, because these are plastic and these are resin, and they have that awful ejector pin mark right in the middle, which is going to look fine, which is going to be a nightmare to fill, sorry, and not lose any detail. But we've got some photo etch to go on there, but it's not really anything like as nice as this. And on these guns here, you can see we have the option of having this type here with the solenoid on the side there. And then we have option B, which has got a bigger block over the top of it. And then we have option C, which has got a bigger block with some angled bits on the sides. If you have a good look at that picture, perhaps pause the film, and you can look at those guns and see the difference. So you can see they're a lot different, but they are very, very nice. And I think that's what we're going to have to do. And hopefully, when that's in there, it won't be obvious when you look in that the guns are actually sort of, instead of sitting in these cradles like this at the back, they're going to be sort of just away. So we shall see. I could move this bulkhead back, I guess, but that would be a lot of extra work, wouldn't it? Or would it? I don't know. And it's the thing is, it's not right for the fronts of these enemies, because it's got a radius cut in it, which is designed to go onto that big lump there on the front of that breech. And this one is the correct, with the round part and the pin. But I suppose I could always. I'm still thinking there's loads I could do. It's crazy. There's loads of different bits and pieces I could do. How far do we go with this, you know? And then I want to add wires and everything. I want to wire the solenoids up and yeah, really go to town and have it looking really interesting. So I think it's worth it, because we've got the lovely one-man army stencils to paint the arrows on the guns, on the bins. We've got the gas patch or the MDC rounds to go in, so we can have them actually going into the guns and have that all looking good, and really try and make it look like something special. So I think what I'm going to do is start off, believe it or not, by gluing all this together, and then decide whether I'm going to bring this bulkhead back or not. I'm just wondering if that bulkhead will naturally fit, if it will just naturally slot into place further back. I wonder. It won't go past that. I'm going to have to drop it in there and somehow hold it in place. and then offer up this fuselage half, nose half. And there we go, we've got it further back and it's sitting up against there, lovely. We don't really want it that much back, but we can actually push it forward and it will sit on those ribs. Very interesting, it will sit against the back of there. It will actually sit where it's supposed to go in there like that. You can see it sits in that groove. It will actually sit behind. So yeah, so I'll tell you what guys, just so I can get this video out to you, today is Saturday and some of you have been asking where the A20 is. Literally I've been working on this not for 3 days, but I've been worked on it for three sessions over 3 days, over about 6 days. So 3 days over 6 days, if you know what I mean. So I think what I'm going to do is call it a day there, and I'm going to have another play rather than bore you with this. And what I'll do is I'll come back in part whatever it is, 23 isn't it, and I'll show you what I've done without doing anything particular. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say bing, there it is, but I'm not gonna bore you with all this bloody waffle and everything. One thing I do want to quickly show you, this panel here, this is a door that hangs down from the nose like this, and this is the inspection panel to go and look at the guns from underneath. And it has this is like a fabricated inner skin. So what I've done is you've got this raised area in the middle that this sits on. So I've sanded that right down. I'll probably sand it down some more as well to get the distance between here and here bigger. And what I've done is also, just like I've done in the past, gone in and run in the back of those holes with a tool to chamfer the edges so that it looks like a thin sheet. Okay, they're probably plunged holes in reality, but I just want it to look thin and flimsy so that it looks to scale. So you can see now we've got like a shadow going on rather than having just a solid black at your head. It's not black, it's grey, rather than just having a solid plastic block in there. So so there we are. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all soon for part 23. If you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't already hit the subscribe, please hit the subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and you'll get to know when I'm putting new videos out. So so there we go. I'm sorry this has been a lot of waffling, but I promise you the next one will be a lot of plastic cutting and gluing and painting and stuff. So, the other thing I've done, if you remember, I filled those in with the black thin super glue, and then I've gone in with a layer of Mr. Surfacer over the top just to smooth it all out. I wouldn't recommend using Mr. Surfacer from the start because it's quite a deep little trench in there and it will shrink back. You'll sand it back, you'll get it all lovely, and then it will shrink back when the model's dry. So I wonder if those barrels will go through those holes or not, as the case may be. Yes, they do. So they're going to sit in there like that. You can see they look lovely. Those gas patch barrels are lovely. Right, so I'll see you all soon for part 23. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.